But I'm going to share a little bit on a chapter in here called Psychic Anesthesia. I love this book. I've read it many, many times. It's got short little chapters. Every time I read it, I'm like, oh, wow, wow. Even sometimes I read the same parts before we do our psychic development practice, and I still am like, oh, wow, it's amazing. So this is Yogi Gupta. Yogi Gupta, he was from India. He studied with the yogis in the Himalayas, and then he came to the States. He had an ashram in New York, and then also in India. He would go back and forth. So his center is the one that Dharma lived at for 10 years. He was his teacher. It says here, the mind is energy. The function of mind can be noted only when there are thoughts. So the mind is energy. If there are no thoughts, you don't know what its function is. In other words, mind is the process of thought registration. The mind cannot exist without thoughts, and thoughts are vibrations of energy which register within you. They are not you. They register within you in this equipment, this cell phone that you currently have, which you're working to update your hardware and your software. When you control your thoughts, you can control your mind. Thoughts bring awareness. A person is aware of what they think. They experience what they are aware of, and they live what they experience. Dharma talks about this camera. If you turn the angle just a tiny bit, something completely different. So if your awareness moves just a degree, your life experience changes completely, right? Right now, if my camera is pointing down to the ground, that's my life experience. Oh, everything's dark and muddy and dirty. And then if I change now my awareness is up here. Oh, the sky, and it's blue now, and light and open. Wherever this goes, that changes your awareness, your experience. For example, if you think and become aware of an incident which happened 10 years ago in your life, you can experience the whole thing again. Anyone do that every day? Something back, you go back, and then the whole nervous system is feeling it again, right? Just a habit. And thus, you can relive that period or even part of your life. By this process, one can relive the sad or happy occasions of their life again and again. And we talk about what you're reliving again and again in the mind. This is hallucination. You're not in the present moment. You're not seeing what's really here in this moment. You're imagining. Last week, did we talk a little bit about being in God's museum? Everything, this is the divine museum. So when you're not in your mind, you're really in the museum, and you can see, wow, how incredible to make a hand and fingernails and all this, know how to get these joints. So everything is amazing when you're focusing in here, the detail, the trees, the leaves. You go back in here, you don't even see anything out here. You're like, well, flowers, whatever, flowers. You can't notice because your attention is all back on this drama. Yogis are able to discover in their inner research the effect of thoughts and their function within. And thereby, they develop a scientific system of attaching and detaching the mind from one part of the body to the other, and from one part of the world to the other consciously. So right now, that's unconsciously happening. Our attention, the mind is getting, okay, I'm going to this part of the body, I'm going to this part of the world. With yoga practice, we can do this consciously. We can decide, okay, I'm putting the awareness here. Not just one yoga practice, consistent practice, abhyasa, sustained practice over a long time. Pain in any part of the body is simply the awareness of pain. If you can withdraw your mind from the ailing part of the body, you experience no pain. Has anyone ever done somatic healing before? It's very interesting. So when I used to get migraines a lot, I would try. So the technique is to scan your body, find somewhere in your body that feels pleasant or neutral. And often it would be the other side of my head. And then I'd place my attention there and focus on the qualities there. And then suddenly I wouldn't feel the pain anymore because the attention was going somewhere else. Okay. And then I'd go back to that area and imagine the qualities on this side and that side. It was very interesting, but I had to work at it. As soon as I started just doing my habits, walking around again, because that was the habitual pattern, it would go back there. But it was amazing to see, oh, wow, this is something that can be learned. The conscious withdrawal of the mind gives one control over experiences and also gives immunity to pain. So when there is pain in the body, you can, with practice, learn to consciously take your mind out of it. If a person who is undergoing surgery on a certain part of their body consciously withdraws awareness from that part of their body, they will never suffer the pains of the operation because they're able to stop the flow of impulses to and from the organ being operated. The real suffering takes place in the mind rather than in the body. If the person did suffer in the body, they would still suffer when the body falls. A dead body does not suffer post-mortem because the power which suffers, that is the mind, does not exist in the dead body. Therefore, it is immune to pain. The adepts and great masters are able to withdraw their mind from the body and live in the awareness of their psychic and astral vehicle, and thereby they achieve immunity to pain. So as we go in our yoga practice, we learn there's different layers to the body. Most humans think, I am the physical body. This is called Annamaya Kosha. It's made of food, right? All of this is made, well, right now, of vegetables and rice mostly, right? It's made of what you eat, the physical body, or pizza and ice cream, whatever it may be. But there's other layers within. There's the pranic body, right? All the life force energy. There's Manomaya Kosha, the mental, the thoughts. Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intelligence, the wisdom. And those make up the astral body. So when we identify with our physical body, we think we're this. When our attention comes into our astral body, our energy body, psychic bodies, we have a completely different experience. When Christ was crucified, he did not suffer pain because he was dead to the awareness of the body, and he was awake to the awareness of the spirit. So much of our suffering is we are dead to the awareness of spirit and awake to the awareness of physical body, which physical body is subject to time, impermanent. A person who has a pain in their leg will suffer while they're awake, but when they are asleep, they don't suffer, simply because they're no longer aware of their physical body. And the pain is in the physical, not in the astral and psychic body, which is the true person within. You experience that, you can have an incredible pain. Then when you go to sleep, oh, it's not there. Or where the attention moves. I remember when I used to dance, often I'd be like, oh, all these pains in my body. But then when I went out to perform, I was just being whatever character or moving, and there was no pain. And then after, oh, there it is again, when the attention could go back into the body. On a cold night, you may be sleeping in a heated apartment, a nice warm apartment, under an electric blanket, which keeps you fully warm. Still, in your dream, you might be freezing in an icy cold blizzard out on the street. During the dream, you may find yourself on the street, and the result will be that although you are lying under an electric blanket, still your whole body will be affected as though you were exposed to the snowstorm. And in the morning, you will find that you are weak and exhausted as if you had been exposed to the storm. This is part of the reason they say you get more rest from doing meditation or yoga nidra than going to bed. Because if you're busy in your dreams, you're engaged, sometimes your body is busy there too. So you're losing prana, some energy there. Such is the power of the mind. The mind was able to detach itself from your warmth, heated apartment and attach itself to the snowstorm on the street. And thereby it made you suffer. Pain and pleasure are all felt in the mind and not in your body. When you can withdraw your mind at will from the ailing part of your body, this is psychic anesthesia. Mind is like electricity, which can be used for refrigeration, heating, air conditioning, cooking, shaving, dishwashing, drying, cleaning, vacuuming, etc. So the electricity can be used to do many, many functions. When the mind is attached to the eyes, it starts to see. When attached to the ears, it starts to hear. To the nose, starts to smell. To the tongue, starts to taste. When attached to the skin, it starts to feel hot and cold. Sometimes you might have noticed that you are not aware of the sound created by the steps of an incoming guest because you're so absorbed in reading the paper. Have you ever had this? You're so involved in what you're doing, you don't notice someone coming up. You don't hear a sound that you would normally hear. Because your mind was attached to the newspaper and was not attached to your ears, which could not hear the sound created by the steps of the incoming guest. An adept can attach and detach his mind at will. And although they may be looking at the face of a person, he may still be looking at nothingness. A person may call such a look a blank gaze. Due to the control of the mind, an adept can consciously be at rest and bring on suspended animation of the heart or any of the involuntary organs of the body. This gets into the yoga superpowers. I'm going to skip a little bit here. If you read, have you read Autobiography of a Yogi? So there, it's a great book. Some of the very magical things that happen in that book, that once you can really control your mind, you can do these things. But the goal isn't to be able to do these things. The goal is really to learn who we are, self-realization. So it said not to pay too much attention to them because it can distract you from the path, from the ultimate goal. The circulation of the blood follows your thought. Where your thought goes, the blood follows, and the blood is a carrier of energy and awareness. When a part of the body does not have awareness, then it is never affected by the consequences which would affect it in ordinary circumstances of life when a person is aware of the incident. Now, here's a very crazy story. And I have notes here, crazy story when I first read this. Some time ago, a person was repairing a straw roof as a precaution against the heavy months of rain in India. They were sitting on the straw roof and inserted a piece of rope into the thatch so that they could make a knot tying the straw thatch to the wooden pole below to prevent it from being blown by the monsoon storm. As they could not see the wooden pole which supported the thatch below, they inserted both hands through the thick layers of straw and was trying to feel for the wooden pole to fasten the rope. During the efforts, they unfortunately grabbed two ends of a big cobra. Maybe this is just a story, hanging on the pole instead of the rope. He tied them tightly around the pole. During this period, the cobra bit him 3 or 4 times, but the person was not in the least aware of the existence of the bite of the cobra. He attributed the bleeding caused by the bite of the cobra to the scratching of the dry straw. He continued to repair his straw roof for the full day and retired in the evening to his home. He continued to enjoy his happy family life for the next 3 years. After 3 years, this is a story. After 3 years, the straw roof again needed repairing, and he had to untie the ropes which fastened the thatch to the wooden poles under the roof. During his work, he found that he had used a live cobra as rope to fasten the straw roof to the pole. He recollected the bleeding in his hand and realized it was caused by the bite of a cobra and not the scratches of the straw. Immediately, his awareness of the fact aroused a state of mind which brought a similar biochemical change into his blood. His whole system became poisoned and he died instantaneously. Such is the power of your awareness. Due to unawareness, he was able to check the venom of the cobra from spreading into his system and causing him death, while the return of the awareness immediately caused the venom of the cobra to intensify its action, thereby causing sudden death. Now, I don't know, maybe it's a true story or maybe it's just a story to learn by, but what it is what tends to happen, whatever happens in us, if the awareness all goes there and the awareness all goes into the fear, we suffer incredibly. And if we can keep our awareness, ultimately where we wish to keep our awareness is on the self, on the truth of who we really are, this infinite consciousness, never born, never dies, not able to, doesn't experience any change, any suffering, right? So keeping our awareness anchored there, then we can become, even when we can't keep it there, if we can keep it neutral, we can endure what we're meant to go through in life with less suffering. Does anyone have any questions? How do we do this is a good question, right? Well, practice. So in the Yoga Sutras, the two key ingredients for practice, abhyasa and vairagya. Abhyasa is constant practice over a long time, this steady practice. So choosing, even Dharma says, even if a student just comes to class every Saturday for several years, that's abhyasa, that's a constant routine. So according to your conditions, have something constant. If it's in your conditions that you can meditate every day, do pranayama every day, do that every day. But put it down, make it something that you mark. I do my practice no matter what. Dharma says do it because it has to be done. Don't do it according to the sways of your mood, because the mood will lie to us. It will say, oh, you know what? You don't need your yoga right now. You need something else, right? And then you realize, oh, I really actually needed my yoga to stay there. So it helps us to stay calm and to watch, to develop the ability to be able to watch the mind and the senses without being affected by them. And then when you get real examples, practice. So why don't we sit right now? I imagine everyone probably has some discomfort in their body. Let's sit and try to find any discomfort. So eyes are closed. There's something you notice. So I'm noticing there's a little tension in my hips. So that means that I have awareness there. And now scan your body and see if you can find an area of your body that feels either comfortable or neutral. It can be as tiny as the tip of your nose, your ear, the toe, shoulder, whatever it is, find something. And bring all your attention into this part, becoming aware of the qualities that you experience here. Breathing into this area, maybe you notice spaciousness, soft, light, whatever it is, it will be different. Let all your awareness stay there. might see a color there, or a scent. All your senses of perception in this area. And gently open your eyes. So you might notice maybe you can find an area and your attention goes there, and then you watch it go back. And then training the puppy every time it goes, come back here. Right now we're doing this. Right now we're doing this. It's just a habit. So with practice, you can learn to bring it back there. And then instead of the mind tends to go to the area of the most intense sensation and anchor there, we're reprogramming it so that we are in control instead of it just going. If you have a lot of pain in your body, you might want to do this for 1 minute every hour. Just sit and practice and learning to master the mind. The more you can do it, if you do it for shorter periods of time more frequently, often that's more helpful than doing a longer time less frequently. And sometimes we'll rebel. So we'll get really motivated after something and say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do 2 hours of meditation in the morning. And then we press snooze for 2 hours in the morning. Right? So something little that you can do. I'm going to do this for 2 minutes. 2 minutes is so much better than 0. 1 minute is even better than 0. If you have a day, oh, I can't practice today, I'm not practicing, 30 seconds. Just sit for 30 seconds and do something, and then slowly expand on it. All right, let's Om. Sit nice and tall. We are here to learn, to refine how we use this equipment and understand what unconditional love really is, our essence. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. 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 Shanti, Shanti